You know, we've had a number of examples over the last couple of weeks to couple of months of different things being equated to being like the Holocaust or like World War II or like historical attacks on Jews, and incorrectly so. And now the sort of natural and predictable next step in this is taking place, which is that we're starting to see segments on right-wing media saying that teaching critical race theory, or certainly critical race theory being part of the national understanding of how things work, is like the Holocaust. We're going to have a clip of this with right-wing radio host Michael Savage. Now, I know that some people get angry when I do the disclaimers. I feel that it's necessary here. I am a critic of critical race theory. I've critiqued critical race theory along the lines that I've critiqued other theories that come out of the postmodernist and post-structuralist ideology. I've critiqued critical race theory as reductive. But critical race theory is not like the Holocaust. That's a wild and crazy thing to say. The Daily Beast summarizes. Newsmax goes there. Critical race theory is the road to death camps for white people. Right-wing radio talker Michael Savage declared the obscure academic theory akin to the Holocaust, prompting a supportive response from a Newsmax TV host. Far-right radio host Michael Savage took conservatives' latest moral panic to a bonkers new level during a Monday night Newsmax appearance, warning that the teaching of so-called critical race theory in schools is akin to exactly what was done to the Jews in Germany. Now, that is not true. We're going to look at the video clip. Michael Savage is a guy we've covered on the program for a long time. He is desperate to maintain some level of relevance and comparing things to the Holocaust, especially when you yourself are Jewish. And remember that that's something that the right is playing up. Michael Savage is Jewish. That makes it get more attention. It doesn't make it any more accurate. Let's take a listen to this. And by the way, the people who decry the identity politics say, I don't know, should we listen to Savage because he is Jewish after all? Maybe he can tell us what things are like the Holocaust. Here we go.
My blood's boiling listening to Chuck Todd. I wanted to reach through the screen and smack him in the face.
This is, by the way, if you're not familiar with Michael Savage, this is how he normally talks. And it's just a way that it's part of his shtick, essentially, to talk in this. He's just constantly outraged at everything, everybody.
Does he have children? Can you imagine having a little child who goes to school and is told that he's no good, his race is no good, he's evil, his parents are evil, his nation is evil? These are the same SOBs who lectured us for 20 years about don't be a bully, tolerate everything. And now they're beating up white children in schoolrooms. And I'm not going to mince words. You can cut me off if you have to. I know you probably agree with me. I can't take this anymore. And there's only one solution to it. Sue the goddamn schools if they do it to your child for child abuse.
Now, when he says if they do it to your child for child abuse, I have said before, I do think that as a starting point, teaching children that they are in some way part of a bad group because of the color of their skin, I'm against that, and that's bad. For the most part, critical race theory is taught to college students and only in certain relevant classes that college students have chosen to take. What Michael Savage is referring to, which exists very anecdotally, and I would be against it, but it is not really the issue, is certain exercises that have been done in elementary or junior high schools, which start to sort of frame the question of race and goodness and badness in a way that I don't think is useful or productive in any way to bettering race relations. But remember that this is part of the ruse. The vast majority of what would fall under the guise of critical race theory is being taught to college students, and it is being taught as theory. It is not being taught as you were bad for this reason or that reason that relates to your skin color. So the whole framing here is wrong. But let's get to the really crazy part.
You will win, because that's the only way to stop this. These children are being humiliated and hurt and damaged for life. by a psychotic woman who came up with this lie called critical race theory, which is nothing but racism towards white people. No other race is targeted. I could go on, and I could go on and on. I've studied history. I know where this starts. I know where it ends. It started in the same kind of thing started in Germany. The Jews were no good. The Jews did this. The Jews did that. The next thing you knew, they were being excluded from swimming pools. They didn't put them in concentration camps overnight. I studied this intimately.
Now, what's really interesting about that, the analogy to the Holocaust is completely wrong. But Michael Savage says something really interesting there, which is he says it didn't happen overnight. That phrase very accurately describes the creeping authoritarianism and nuttery that we saw under Donald Trump. If on the day after Trump was elected in 2016, I had told you by the end of this, Trump will be trying to steal an election he clearly lost, trying to use the Department of Justice and all of these different aspects of government to do his bidding, demanding that the Supreme Court do X, Y, and Z, all of the different mishandling a pandemic during which he will suggest that infected Americans be sent to Guantanamo Bay. Nobody would have believed it if I had said that on, November 8th of 2016 or whatever the date was. But it slowly creeps in to the point where by the time those things were happening, the response was nowhere near what it should have been. It doesn't apply here to critical race theory, but it would have applied if Michael Savage had talked about this in relation to Trump's creeping authoritarianism. Just a few more seconds here.
I'm Jewish. I know how this starts. Attacks.
That's identity politics, by the way. That's the identity politics they decry. Because he's Jewish, he must be right about what things are like the Holocaust.
On white people is exactly what was done to the Jews in Germany in the 30s. Don't fall for this garbage. This is the road to the death camps. Stand up to these bastards and sue them.
Yeah. So there is Michael Savage, and it is yet another analogy to the Holocaust that makes absolutely no sense. And the sad thing about this is there are real serious critiques of critical race theory as an academic theory. When you go to this is like Jews being excluded from swimming pools and the precursors to concentration camps, you just lose it. And I would actually respect one of these right wingers in their opposition to critical race theory much more if they just levied a sober and sensible critique. That's not what we're seeing from people like Michael Savage. One of our sponsors today is Helix Sleep, and it's a sponsor I'm thrilled about because I sleep on a Helix mattress at home, and it's just the perfect mattress. One of the best things about Helix is you don't have to guess which mattress do I need, which one will be good for me. You take their famous sleep quiz on their website, you tell them your body type, your sleeping position, your back pain issues you might have, and they will pair you with a mattress that will be perfect for you. I took the sleep quiz. The mattress they suggested was exactly what I needed. I often get too hot at night. The mattress keeps me cool. It's not too soft. It's not too firm. The texture is right. And I've just been getting way better sleep. You only buy a mattress every decade or so. Don't get stuck with something that's not perfect for you. And all Helix mattresses come with a 10-year warranty, and they'll even come to your house and pick it up within 100 days if you don't love it. But I think you will. All of my viewers will get up to $200 off your order, and you'll get 2 super premium pillows for free when you go to the link right underneath this video.